What is going on, everybody? ZyoniK here, and in today's video I wanted to bring you a very strong team that I've been using this season with Altaria, Lanturn, and Poliwrath. It doesn't get much more meta than this when it comes to the Open Great League this season, as we saw a massive buff to the use, potential, and coverage on a Poliwrath, both a access to Icy Wind and a buff to Scald. Altaria has made a comeback as a very strong flyer in the meta. And then Lanturn's always been very strong. We utilize Poliwrath as a safe swap. We face off against very difficult teams today. Pokemon like Azumarill, Galarian Stunfisk, Bastiodon. The list goes on and on. So there's a lot of great battles for you guys to see, and also what teams kind of beat this team. You guys can take a look at those as well. So I hope you enjoy, and let's get right into it. All right, getting into the first battle. Altaria versus Azumarill. This is going to be probably the hardest Pokemon you're going to face off against. And what I like to do when I face off against it on the lead is to see if it's running a Ice Beam. If it is, then you can look to catch the Ice Beam on Poliwrath. If it's running Play Rough, there's really no way to soak that damage for resisted anywhere. So you're just going to have to basically sack the Altaria and come in with Lanturn and load up on energy. But notice how the first one's an Ice Beam. We can survive that, so I'm going to go ahead and look to catch the next one now on Poliwrath, as I figured they'd go for it right away, and they did, which we are able to catch that resisted damage, which is huge. So Azumarill is out of energy, and we do have a defense form Deoxys come into the Poliwrath, which is definitely a tough matchup. Their resisting counter, our fast move, and they also have access to Psycho Boost. But thankfully I do have 2 shields, so I'm going to look to utilize those here and go for Scalds. Scald is a very strong move, potentially deemed overpowered because of how much damage it does and the attack drop. That's tough. So what we're going to look to do here is actually no shield. I know I could have shielded, maybe farmed down, taken switch, but I figured they'd get to 2 Psycho Boosts in time, so I'm just going to go ahead and let it go, and I'm going to come in with Lanturn. If they have a grass in the back, so be it, right? It's over. It's just, it is what it is. But Lanturn right here, if I get enough energy, they might not, and it's actually a Skeledirge in the back, which is huge, and they try to catch the Surf there on Azumarill, which is perfect because now I am free to go for Thunderbolts here, and this is looking to be a good game if I manage my energy well, and if I can catch a charge move potentially. So we're going to go ahead and do our best right here to throw on correct timings for everyone who has been letting me know in the comments I need to work on that. I'm working on it. I'm trying. I'm not perfect, but we're getting there. And I also catch a Disarming Voice. This is huge. This was the big play of this game. 2 catches, the Ice Beam on Poliwrath and the Shadow Ball there on the Altaria, as we can easily look to go for double surfs here to close this game out. They're going to go ahead and go for Disarming Voice, which is totally fine, and I should be able to get back-to-back surfs. I have to do one more Spark here, but they have to do another Incinerate to get to the Disarming Voice, so that is going to be a good game, very well played, as Lanturn's surf damage here should just be enough to KO the Skeledirge. And that was definitely a good game. Tough one to come back from, but it is doable. Good battle. Alright, moving into the next one, Altaria versus Galarian Stunfisk. This is once again a tough Pokemon to face off against the lead because it does very well against our backline. But we safe swap the Poliwrath and we draw out a Superior, which is actually pretty good because Superior does very well against Lanturn, and ideally we want to have it aligned here to the Poliwrath because we can survive the Aerial Ace, which they're going to opt to go for, and we can do super effective damage right back with Icy Wind. And Icy Wind does a lot, as you guys can see, and we also force them to throw energy. And I'm going to go ahead and let this go. Because getting Switch is not going to be advantageous because the Galarian Stunfisk has Earthquake, right? So if I give up a shield and take Switch, it's over. What I do instead is come in with Lanturn, pray that they don't have double grass, right? That would be bad, but they don't. The Galarian Stunfisk comes in. So this tells me they have a flyer in the back. And now I have successfully taken Switch in a sense, because now the Galarian Stunfisk is aligned to Lanturn, which is what we want. And I really wanted to go for a swap right there to catch the Earthquake, but it didn't give it to me. It just froze the screen, which I was really annoyed about. So now I have to try to catch the next one. Obviously, Surf here is super effective damage. We're still reading that they're weak in the back to Lanturn, so it could be another flyer. There's a multitude of options that it could be, but obviously my hope is that Altaria does well against it. So we're going to go ahead and shield. It is going to be Earthquake number 2. Looks like they're just going straight Earthquakes, so we're just going to try to catch this next one. As if we catch an Earthquake on Altaria, that's huge. That's the name of the game with this team when you're in bad situations, is catching those charge moves, and we get it. I had it on the first one. It was like a locked-in situation. We catch the Earthquake here. Pokemon number 3 is going to be... They load up on some energy, and the Pokemon number 3 is going to be Mantine, which makes a lot of sense, considering the fact that they came in with Galarian Stunfisk to the Lanturn, right? Which is huge for us. That means a Lanturn with energy can core break this team, which is the whole goal, is our Poliwrath safe swap tries to draw out the hardest counters to Lanturn, ideally those grass type Pokemon, and can put a lot of pressure down with counter and icy wind. So we're going to go ahead and let this Mantine take us down, because I didn't swap out to catch the charge move with a Surf ready to go. So I actually need energy here on my Lanturn, and I don't think the Galarian Stunfisk might have an Earthquake, but I feel like it's one away. So now I'm good. I can just go for Surf right away. Had they swapped in, I could easily just one Spark and Surf and won this game, because we will be winning the CMP tie, so that is going to be a good game, very well played. Boom, down it goes. Alright, moving to the next one, Altaria versus Medicham. Much more favorable lead here, but definitely not something to laugh at, as Medicham is the original fighter with the flyer coverage, right? It does have access to Ice Punch, which is actually going to do a lot of damage, but I'm not going to give up a shield just yet. I don't have any information on what they have in the back, but they actually decide to swap out into Lickitung, which is perfect here for Poliwrath. Shadow Poliwrath with counter makes a Lickitung look like a mid-tier tank. It's just like, it's brutal what this thing can do. Now, I shielded the Body Slam right there just to ensure it wasn't a Power Whip. I'm not really sure if they actually built up enough energy. I felt like they did, but double Body Slam is totally fine, because I can get the full counter down and look to go for a Scald here, a double Scald versus Medicham, just because of how much damage it can do. We're definitely going to be able to force a shield, as we do get one right there. I'm gauging if I can maybe get back-to-back Icy Winds, but based on that, I can't. So I'm just going to go ahead and go for another Scald for some chip damage. And look at that. We got the attack drop as well. Now I'm going to come in with Lanturn here, hoping they decide to blind throw Ice Punch. A lot of trainers will, and actually they swapped in a Bastiodon, so we get ahead on energy in this matchup, which is huge. This is really huge for us. Again, the play for Lanturn there coming into Medicham was the blind throw, because a Medicham obviously doesn't want to get hit with the Sky Attack. It doesn't want to stand with Altaria. It just farmed down my Poliwrath, so they're likely just going to throw the Ice Punch and bail, which is why I was hoping to catch that resisted damage. But in fact, it gave us basically a fast move, maybe 2 advantage here against Bastiodon, which is going to be huge, as Surf is super effective damage. And thankfully, Lanturn is bulky enough where we can easily survive one Stone Edge, but we do need to be prepared for the Medicham to swap in, which we are going to be seeing most likely after this Stone Edge, because Switch Clock is up and they could easily swap in and throw. So I'm going to ready for it, and I counter swap right away, and sure enough, they were there waiting for me. Now, I didn't go for Sky Attack. It's kind of counterintuitive, but if you guys look, I need the energy on my Lanturn in order to have that Surf ready to go and KO the Bastiodon. Had I thrown the Sky Attack there and taken out the Medicham, Bastiodon would have farmed me down and Stone Edged me, and it would have been a good game. But yeah, Lanturn, really great anchor on this team. Alright, moving to the next one. Shadow Dragonite on the lead. Good matchup for us. We do have to give up one shield to maintain switch advantage, which I'm okay with doing. Considering our backline, if there is in fact a grass back there, I want to have the Poliwrath on it instead of the Lanturn, so I will take switch here. Now, we will see them come in with Medicham, which I'm like, okay, maybe they do in fact have a grass back there. I'm thinking maybe Venusaur, the added poison typing to help out against Fairy. So I'm going to swap into Poliwrath to try to bait it out, but they're not swapping out. So this gets me very concerned. Either Poliwrath is the best answer to their third Pokemon, or they don't have a good answer to water types, which would obviously be good for my Lanturn. So we're going to pray for the not good coverage to water types here as we go for a Scald. We do get a shield, but they swapped out into Lickitung, and I thought this was a very interesting call because had they not done this and they stayed in with Medicham, well, actually, we might have been able... No, I think they had a Psychic. I think they would have gotten to the second Psychic in time. Even an Ice Punch, I think, would have KO'd us, and then Lanturn. It would have been a tough battle there against Lickitung at the end. We still have Altaria, though. And I'm gauging how much fast move damage I need to do, and I think Altaria is the one to do it, as Dragon Breath should do enough. I don't think Spark would do it in time before they get to another charge move. Now, obviously, we're going to try to go for Sky Attack, but they throw the Ice Punch right away. Totally fine. This is going to be KOing us, and we're going to look to come in with that Lanturn here and take out the Medicham. In this matchup, especially with this health and no shields, we take it with Thunderbolt. So that is going to be a good game to my opponent. Definitely a tough team, but getting rid of Dragonite early opened the door for the potential sweep, and I think my opponent made a slight misplay coming in with the Lickitung, hoping to catch the charge move or clear the debuff on Medicham, but good game regardless. All right, moving to the next one. Bastiodon on the lead. Well, you guys know what you need to do. Come in with Poliwrath. They come in with a Victory Bell. I'm like, oh, it's that team. It's that team. Yes. Battlers, if you have stuck around to the 11-minute mark, thank you for hanging out this long. And secondly, yes, Bastiodon Double Grass is the one of the killers of this team. It's a team that has been around for as long as Go Battle League has been a thing. But it's also a team that isn't as common. It may be more common for you later this week or what have you, but overall, I've only seen a handful of these teams. It's a very fun team, if I'm not going to lie. I'm also waiting for Switch Clock here, which is why you guys see me stop attacking the Victory Bell. I don't care how many attacks it gets on me. What I'm hoping for is Lanturn to be able to core break. So I'm hoping for a flyer back there or something. So I swap into Lanturn and Wigglytuff comes in. Now you guys notice I waited a second to swap. The reason being is I was trying to see if I could psych out my opponent. I've done it before, where when you know the opponent is going to swap, if I'm going to swap right away, if you just stop and don't do a fast attack, your opponent may see that as a visual cue to swap out themselves. So I was hoping they'd do it while I just basically stall. I've had it done before in the past, but unfortunately here it's going to be Wigglytuff in the back, which with the Icy Wind update to its move pool, I now cannot farm this thing down in time. Regardless, the Bastion had a lot of health too, so that is going to be a good game. I will surrender right there. So good battle to my opponent. All right, Shadow Dragonair on the lead. Another dragon we're totally fine with facing off against. Altaria, when it comes to the Dragon Breath's dragon users in this meta, Altaria is on the bulky side of it, able to survive fast and charge moves much better than the others. And we do see a Wiggly swap out right here. So I'm going to opt to go for my Sky Attack to do some chip damage, and then I'm going to come in with that Lanturn. Now this Lanturn right here is running Spark, which is a lot better at gaining energy, and I have mentioned before, you guys have probably heard that I like Water Gun. I do like Water Gun, but what I found with this team in particular is that we need a harder answer to Azumarill, and Water Gun Lanturn just isn't that. It's much better with Spark in that matchup, which is why I specifically have this built around it. But we're going to go ahead and let the Body Slam go through as we can survive and look to go for a Surf, adding more pressure to my opponent, trying to get myself an advantage, whether that's Shield or Switch. We get Switch, and their final Pokemon is going to be a Poliwrath. So we are going to, basically take this game. Just due to the fact that counter does so much damage, we're ahead on health. And we're even shields. They are up, I believe, 3 counters, maybe 4, to my memory. I didn't see it right there. I did these battles yesterday morning. I'm recording the day after, but Icy Wind here, going to be applying that debuff. And what we also have is a way to clear my debuff. So I'm going to go ahead and swap when I think they're going to try to throw, and they do. So we catch the charge move. This does 2 things. Obviously, waste the energy on them. And secondly, it clears my debuff so that Poliwrath can counter down very safely. And that is going to be a good game, very well played. All right, moving into the next one. Shadow Gligar here on the lead. Pretty decent lead for us. I think we apply a lot more pressure to them than they do to us, just because of how brutal Dragon Breath is, the damage from Dragon Breath. As Aerial Ace doesn't do that much here, now we have our Sky Attack coming, and so I'm anticipating them maybe wanting to swap, but they don't, so I decide to throw here. This is likely when you get the first shield of the game, is in a matchup like this, which we do. So I'm going to go ahead and just load up on energy, and we should be totally fine with our back end, as we can basically let the Aerial Ace go through, try to go for another Sky Attack here, but they swap out at the last second, and they go into, I believe, a Alolan Sandslash. So I think we would have made it to Sky Attack if they didn't swap, but obviously, Alolan Sandslash is going to get slashed, you know? So we're going to go ahead and counter down. I feel like it wasn't enough for Drill Run, but it was, so I took a lot of unnecessary damage right there. But ultimately, with Gligar and Alolan Sandslash, I feel like Lanturn could have a good game, and it's actually going to be Poliwrath in the back, so yeah, that is going to be a good game, as we can go for the Scald here. It's going to be resisted, but I'm hoping for that debuff as well. It actually does a lot of damage. We do get the debuff, and yeah, that's a checkmate situation right here. Hardest hitting move left in this game is going to be Dig from the Shadow Gligar, so I'm going to go ahead and no shield, as it could be Dynamic Punch. Sorry, got to watch out for that. Dynamic Punch is always a thing. But odds are they're running the meta moveset, which I'm running as well, which is Icy Wind and Scald. And then against Gligar here, we can easily go for Double Surf. So that is going to be a good battle. We do have 2 shields remaining. They decide to surrender. All right, moving to the next one. Altaria versus Skarmory. Okay, so the classic Battler of the Flyers, or Battle of the Flyers, not Battler of the Flyers, but yeah, this is a throwback to 2020 when Go Battle League first came out. These were the top 2 Flyers in the meta for the longest time. And we're going to go ahead and swap out into Poliwrath here, as we do resist the fast move of Steel Wing. And I'm going to go ahead and give up a shield here and hope that actually our Poliwrath has good matchups potentially in the back. But they swap into Cresselia, and this is obviously not a good matchup. This is a tough matchup. So what we're going to look to do is go for the Scald, do as much neutral damage as possible. No debuff there, unfortunately. I really wanted to get to that Icy Wind, but I'm also considering that we might be able to survive Grass Knot. So I let it go, but we don't survive, unfortunately. Now, Altaria needs to come in, and this is my big fear right now that I have, is when you see a Skarmory and a Cresselia, what do you think their third Pokemon is? What are they weak to that they need an answer for? Yeah, something like a Mudboy. They need an answer to tanks. They need an answer to Bastiodon, all that. So odds are they have a Mudboy in the back. Now they're not swapping out, which makes me think maybe it's Poliwrath. No, it's a Whiscash. It is going to be a Mudboy. So based on team reads right there, seeing Skarmory, seeing Cresselia, you know that they got to have some kind of answer for Registeel and stuff like that. Whiscash makes a lot of sense, but my hope was that it was a Poliwrath, because that'd be something we might be able to manage. But ultimately, this game is not over. It's going to be close. Our switch clocks are a little bit out of sync, so I might have some play. As I go for Surfs here, we do get a shield, and I'm desperately trying to get to another one in time, but I don't get it. So now, what I'm going to look to do is leverage the Dragon Breath from Altaria here. So we're going to give it the shield. We're going to trust in its ability to Dragon Breath down. I'm going to have to no shield here. It is going to be Scald. We resist it though, and they swap into Skarmory, so I'm going to go ahead and shield that, as they did build up the charge move. And then now we get to see if we can win the race. We do have almost 2 Sky Attacks, and 1 should be enough. So this game was looking very bleak. We were down shields, we had switch disadvantage, and we had here we go. Oh no, I don't get it in time. I'm not sure if I misclicked there. Actually, let me see. I feel like they got it a turn before me. Let's see. Yeah, they got it 1 turn before me, because my Dragon Breath just went through to register So they got it 1 turn right there. So good game. So we were basically triple hard countered in terms of Skarmory into Altaria, because we're doing all resisted, right? Cresselia into Poliwrath, Whiscash into Lanturn. We were down shields, and still almost brought it back. And that's due to Altaria's ability to really dominate with Dragon Breath in some of those situations. So good game to my opponent right there. All right, moving to the next one, we got Charge Bug here on the lead. Now, Charge Bug is really interesting. It's made a huge rise this season in the meta. I know Vikavolt is a cool-looking Pokemon. Looks like those speeders from Star Wars. But Charge Bug right here decides to swap out into Lickitung. Excuse me. So we're going to go ahead and come in with the Poliwrath like we did before. Again, very fearful of the Power Whip, so we're going to go ahead and shield, and I know we can farm down in time, and it is just going to be a Body Slam. So that is okay. We're going to see if they decide to throw. They decide to throw again right away, so we can let this go. This is just going to be another Body Slam right here, and then we should be able to counter down, have double charge moves ready to go. Now, in this situation, what I should be doing is going for Scald right away. It's basically going to be enough damage to KO, but what I was hoping for is to get a shield with Icy Wind, which they were hoping for as well. But I get double Icy Winds anyway, so we KO the Charge Bug regardless. I think the Scald would have done enough, but we get the shield right there. I'm going to go ahead and counter swap and go for the Sky Attack because Charge Bug was caught in a fast move animation, which means it's forced to go down, and the final Pokemon is actually going to be Greninja. Now, the reason why I made that play is, firstly, it gets the KO on Charge Bug, or it gets the final shield. And if Lanturn is having to face off against something like a Bastiodon, a Registeel, something like that, and we have a 1-0, it's much more favorable, especially with a Poliwrath sack swap. So that's why I decided to do that. They were locked in that animation. Unfortunately for Greninja here, as fun and awesome of a Pokemon as it is, I have 3 really good answers to it. So that is going to be a good game. Very well played. All right, moving to the next one. We got Altaria versus Shiny Mandibuzz right here. Good Pokemon for us to be facing off against. We have, I mean, honestly, 3 good answers to it. Poliwrath is our worst answer, obviously because we take super effective damage from the Aerial Ace. But Altaria here does have access to Moonblast, which against the dark typing of Mandibuzz is huge. So I decided to throw as they're stuck in the animation right there. That way I can make sure they don't swap out. Moonblast basically near KOs. And we should be able to Dragon Breath down in time. So Mandibuzz is gone. Let's see what they come in with. They come in with Medicham, which is totally fine by me. As a Sky Attack here does super effective damage. Very happy to get this free shield from my opponent. And they're going to have to throw an Ice Punch as well to KO. And then what I'll look to do is come in with Lanturn. If they do have a Grass in the back based on their team formation so far, Medicham and Mandibuzz, sorry. A Grass-type Pokemon is something that's completely viable to help out against Azumarill, right? If you're looking at team comp. Dynamic Punch as well does land, which is fine. And the reason why we save that Poliwrath is because of that Icy Wind. So I know Lanturn here can soak 1 charge move as we go for the Thunderbolt. We do get shield number 2, which now changes my paradigm of what that final Pokemon could be. And I'm praying it's actually not Azumarill. That would be bad. So I have to give up a shield here to stop the Ice Punch. And we will see that they decide to swap out, and it's actually a Clodsire. So, phew. I was like, oh man, that actually might be Azumarill in the back because they shielded the Medicham. We're now going to swap into Poliwrath, and this is going to be a good game. We just need to make sure we overload a bit on energy, as Sludge Bomb's going to be coming through. I will give up a shield on it. I think I can KO with a Scald before they get to another charge move. And my Poliwrath here is ahead on energy against the Medicham, so I should be able to KO it with an Icy Wind. And yeah, that's going to be a good game. Poliwrath does make it in time. But yeah, again, got a bit dicey there. I came in with Lanturn reading a potential Grass, but when I saw that shield on Medicham, I'm like, might be something bad back there like Azumarill. Good game. All right, final battle, I think. We have, yeah, it's going to be final battle. We got Medicham here on the lead. So same as before, looking to go for Sky Attack, not necessarily needing to shield the first Ice Punch. It does do a lot of damage. But ultimately, getting myself shield advantage is very advantageous, if I do say so myself, for a Poliwrath Lanturn backline. So we're going to go ahead and go for that Sky Attack here. We do get a shield, and then they're going to look to go for another Ice Punch, so I catch it on Poliwrath. I love catching resisted charge moves. Whether I need to or not, that doesn't matter. It's the fact that I can. And we actually draw out a Superior, so this worked out very, very well. Ideally, when you do these kind of swaps, you want to draw out something that is the hardest counter to your third Pokemon when you're running an ABB formation, which I am running, which is an Altaria and double water. And my water that is my safe swap, the Poliwrath here, has Icy Wind to do super effective damage against grass. So we're going to go ahead and trust in the Lanturn sweep. We're going to let the Poliwrath go down. We're going to come in with that Altaria, look to get rid of the Superior, and then come in with Lanturn and hopefully win this game. If they have double grass, so be it. If they got a Whiscash, so be it. But we're going to look to trust in Lanturn. And sure enough, we can trust. It is going to be another Lanturn in the back. So now I need to be very careful about them catching a charge move on their Medicham. So we're going to go ahead and give up a shield here, as I thought it might just be the Thunderbolt, which it is. And now I'm waiting for them to swap, which they do. I'm going to look to go for Surf. This shouldn't be enough to KO. They did already go for Ice Punch, so I should be able to Spark down in time, which I do. Perfect. And now we see that the Lanturn coming back in is basically behind now in terms of energy, because we shielded the Thunderbolt. So now it is going to be a race to the next charge move. Their Thunderbolt is not going to be enough to KO us, but I do have a Surf ready to go. I also have Altaria with Dragon Breath and a little bit of health. So we're going to go ahead and go for that Surf here. And then we're going to swap out into the Altaria to ensure the victory. Get that one turn fast move in, and that is going to be a good game. Very well played. That was the final battle. This team, very strong, very, very good. Obviously, there are hard counters to it, like we saw today. Triple hard counter is obviously going to be a hard counter. Bastiodon, double Razor Leaf, Bastiodon, Charm Razor Leaf, that is a thing. That is pretty common. That is going to beat this team, unfortunately. But you guys could make counters to that team instead. Maybe run Poliwrath on the lead and kind of see how that goes. But overall, I had a lot of fun, a lot of good sets with this team. Very meta, very strong Pokemon that you can invest in. Like last season, we saw Steelix be incredibly powerful with Breaking Swipe. And I have a feeling that Poliwrath might be on the verge of too good. I don't think it's there yet, but it might be. And that's because it's not Icy Wind, it's actually Scald. The damage that it does with the percentage of chance to get the attack debuff. But we'll see if they decide, if Niantic decides to change that next season. I don't think they will. I think Poliwrath is a good Pokemon anyways to invest in if you haven't already for both Great League and Ultra League. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's video, and like always, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.